Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we have quite a big video today, all things considered. We have an update on Kieran Tierney that we need to go over in Celtic's pursuit to re-sign him. We have a preview, of course, for tomorrow's game against Dundee United at Celtic Park, and a press conference from Brendan Rodgers this afternoon ahead of that game, in which he responds to the criticism he faced following that little outburst at the weekend. So, join me, we're going to try and cover each and every aspect of that. Let's do this. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. 2025 is well and truly underway, and the support thus far has been incredible. So go down below, hit both of those buttons. If you want to become a channel member, you can do that too. But we have a lot to go over today. I want to try and fly through it because I have a lot of editing to do between this and the Wrestling Forever channel. So, yeah, let's fly. Let's do this. And let's start with Brendan Rodgers' press conference this afternoon. We don't need to go over all the details of the weekend's press conference. We know what happened, we know what was said, and we know the fallout that has came from it. We have seen the divisive opinions from Celtic fans, whether or not they agree with what Brendan Rodgers was saying. It is one of the most polarising topics of discussion I have seen as a Celtic supporter, and I genuinely mean that when I say that. I can't think of many topics, bar the COVID season, in my life which have caused such a split down the middle between supporters. 50% backing the manager and saying he was completely right in what he said, 50% saying that he was a little bit out of pocket. It has been one that has shaken the Celtic support, to be quite frank, and Brendan Rodgers finally responded to that backlash today at the press conference, where he basically doubled down on his initial reaction. So let's look at the manager's comments. So this is what he said. I'm not going to beat about the bush when I'm talking about the bush, and I'm experienced enough to say what I think and what I feel, but not in a derogatory way to anyone. I'm the last person coming back here after everything that I've put myself through to come back here and do so. I'm so happy that I came back here, and I love my job and I love my life here. But it is also important for me to be able to say what I think. Sometimes you pay not to say what you think, but there are moments when you have to. I'm at the stage of my career now and in life where I don't need to bite my tongue. So basically doubling down on his comments, he has no regrets for what he said, despite some of the fan backlash from Sunday. And you know what, fair enough to a certain extent. As much as I disagreed with Brendan Rodgers on the Kieran Tierney chance situation, it doesn't mean that he can't have that opinion. And I said this on Sunday when speaking about it. From a professional point of view, I understand why he's done what he's done. I don't disagree that it had to happen. I think that things have been taken in the entirely wrong context. That would be my disagreement with him. But it doesn't mean that Rodgers can't say what he thinks and shouldn't have that opinion to go out there and back one of his players publicly. If people have taken it as a mark of disrespect to Greg Taylor, that's that, and Rodgers will defend him. But for me and for many others, it wasn't a mark of disrespect. I'm just hoping that we can put it all behind us now. Rodgers has said what he said. We move on. We move together. It's not that big a deal. And just to come back to what I did say on Sunday, it's not something that's kept me up. It's not something I feel passionate about. I'm not going to be thinking about this any longer than today once it's said, once it's all over and done with. So yeah, it's not a huge deal. I can see why it has divided Celtic supporters, but at the end of the day, we're all in the same mission here. We're all trying to head in the same direction and win the same trophies. So yeah, he did talk about Greg Taylor after that, where he had more comments on the situation and Greg Taylor's side of the story, saying that I have spoken to him, he's absolutely fine, I had a good chat with Greg on a number of things, he's good to go. I think Greg's clear in where he's at. For me, he's dedicated to Celtic. I think tomorrow he plays 200 games as a Celtic player, which is a lot of games. He's been a brilliant servant, and I hope he can continue to be that throughout my time and beyond. So once again, Brendan Rodgers making it clear he would like to see Taylor stay at the club and stay with him beyond this summer. And yeah, he's bang on. You know, he's been a fantastic servant and deserves all the respect in the world. He backed him publicly, as he should back his players. I think there was a misunderstanding between those chanting for Kieran Tierney and the manager, but it's done, it's finished, it's over. One of my favourite parts of this section of the press conference was this part here, saying his job is to create an atmosphere that players both here and at the training centre can flourish and play in the style which the fans demand, and that there is a positive mentality and a connection between both us and the fans. Celtic fans are amazing for the team and the players when everything is right up there. So, you know, the whole thing about people getting a bit annoyed about the style of football, passing the ball back, mixed with that whole reaction to the Kieran Tierney stuff. Let's get rid of it all. Let's bring the positivity together. It was a moment of madness, which does not need to be blown up into anything too serious. Brendan Rodgers has had his final words on it. I'm sure that Greg Taylor is ready to go. The fans are ready to go. There is no need for this to be any bigger than it is. And when Kieran Tierney does arrive here, whether it's in the summer, in the winter, whenever it may be, we're going to have a very strong squad, and we all need to be in it together. On that note, it's time for the Kieran Tierney update. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of these over the next week or two until we have the confirmation he is signing for Celtic. David Ornstein of The Athletic reported this earlier today, that Arsenal have not been approached about a January departure for the Scotsman, but Celtic have opened negotiations with Kieran Tierney about a free transfer in the summer. Talks are ongoing. David Ornstein, one of the most reliable journalists in English football, potentially the most reliable nowadays. He seems to be the main source of transfer news. And this is obviously a big one, because it might guarantee that Celtic are signing Tierney, but it leaves up in the air whether or not we'll see him in a Celtic shirt before the end of this campaign. Do we have the money to bring him in on a loan deal? Of course we do, but are Celtic willing to pay that money to bring him in on a loan deal to the end of the season? Is there any wiggle room between us and Arsenal to make it happen on a cut price deal? You're talking about a man that's on £120,000 a week at the end of the day. I don't know if Celtic are willing to pay that between now and the end of the season. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I would love to see him sign, but right now it seems as though for the January transfer window, it's not certain. However, beyond that, I'm pretty sure we'll see him sign for Celtic. This was also backed up, I feel, from Mikel Arteta at his press conference this afternoon. That's right, he spoke directly on the links of Kieran Tierney returning to Celtic. When asked about it, he said, "There is no news. Kieran is our player." And that's it. That was genuinely it. That's all he said. It was a one-line, very quick response, but didn't give too much away. And I said this when we were first linked with him, that I think it will be really difficult to sign him in this January transfer window, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has to stay out the season with Arsenal. Nonetheless, I'm happy to see him return in any capacity. I don't care if it's now or summer. As long as he's coming back, I'm buzzing. But right now, everyone has their cards close to their chest. Celtic have apparently not made an approach to the club about signing him on loan this window, but are in negotiations for that summer free transfer. So quickfire very quickly to end the transfer talk segment of the show. Stephen Welsh, you might have seen this yesterday from Anthony Joseph. His medical is booked for Mechelen today, apparently. This was reported yesterday that we have accepted the loan bid from KV Mechelen, and it's understood that he will be at the club's facilities for a medical in this 2-day period. The 6-month loan deal is expected to be completed this week. Of course, we've known about this for a while, but the final details seem to be coming into place. And Luis Palma, the story from Honduras, about Luis Palma and his price tag has surfaced, that Celtic want a fee in the region of €4 million, £3.3 million for Palma, if they want to sign him permanently in this transfer window, which is roughly the amount we paid for him. Wouldn't be a bad sum of money to bring in for someone who's been a bit part player, and I do suspect he will leave. But that's your quick-fire transfer talk update. So to finish up today, Celtic play Dundee United tomorrow at Celtic Park. It is going to be a freezing cold home game tomorrow night. I, quite frankly, can't be bothered. But you know, it's Celtic. We're there and we're always there. And even in the coldest of nights, in the dreariest of atmospheres, we've got to be there for the team, and I fully intend on doing so. Brendan Rodgers said this in his press conference today, that you see where Dundee United sit in the league. They're doing very, very well. We had a good performance at the weekend, and we hope to continue on. And he's bang on about that, because Dundee United have been very good this season. In fact, take your mind back to only last month, where we didn't do too well at Tannadice, did we? It was a slog of a game. We ended up walking away with only the point that afternoon. They made life very difficult for Celtic, and that's why they find themselves, if you look right now, third in the Scottish Premiership table, back from the Championship, and doing pretty well, Dundee United, it must be said. Jim Goodwin has them playing some good stuff. Their recent form has them winning 3 of their last 6 Premiership games. If it wasn't for a loss at the weekend, they would be on a bit of a winning run. Nonetheless, here we are. Celtic, rotation options, of course, but a team that should be good enough to get the job done. Right, I have yapped. We've gone on far too long. It's time to bring this thing to a grinding halt. So, yeah, I will see you all tomorrow night for the match reaction. A late one, of course, if I don't freeze to death in section 412. But until then, take care, hit like and subscribe. God bless. I'll see you all next time.